All right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at performance analytics,
Interesting.
which is basically using data to understand how people are doing at work.
Yeah.
We've got a pretty in-depth PDF on this
Okay.
and a CNBC video clip about data and employees,
Right.
and even a short video about this idea of productive failure.
Cool.
So we'll be looking at how companies are using data not just to keep track of their employees,
Oh.
but to actually try to predict things.
Oh, wow.
Like who's going to be a top performer in the future,
Okay.
and how to help everyone improve.
Interesting.
It's kind of like having a crystal ball for your workforce, right?
Yeah, I like that analogy.
So that CNBC clip, for example,
Yeah.
it features this company called Evolve,
Evolve. Okay.
and they're using data to figure out how efficient employees are,
Makes sense.
and even potential security risks.
Wow, that's really interesting.
It's a pretty big shift towards what they're calling data-driven management.
Yeah, it makes sense for
Using information to understand how employees behave,
Right.
But I think before we go too far,
Yeah,
we should probably unpack some of the basics.
for sure.
All of that is laid out really well in this PDF, I think.
Okay, great.
It gets kind of into the weeds with data models.
Yeah,
Don't worry, we'll pull out the good stuff.
I appreciate that.
So at the core of this
Yeah.
is this idea that there are different types of models.
Okay.
You've got data models,
Mm-hmm.
which organize all the information.
Right.
And then you've got analytics models,
Right. Okay.
which can help us find patterns in the data.
Yeah.
But the really cool ones are these things called predictive models.
Oh, interesting.
Are those the ones that can, tell us who's going to win Employee of the Month next year?
Well, not exactly employee of the month,
Okay.
but they can predict things like how someone's going to perform,
Uh-huh.
if someone's thinking about leaving the company, and even identify people who might become leaders in the future.
So it's basically like getting a sneak peek into the future of your workforce.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Pretty wild, right?
Yeah, it's really fascinating how this is all developing.
So let's bring it back down to earth a bit.
Okay.
What does all of this data crunching actually mean for regular companies and their employees?
That's where performance analytics comes in.
Performance analytics, right?
It's basically about using data to figure out how people are doing at work.
Right.
Not just tracking numbers, but using data to help people get better at their jobs.
So instead of just relying on what their manager thinks,
Right.
you're looking at hard data about their work.
Exactly.
That paints a much clearer picture, right?
It absolutely gives you a much more objective view of how they're doing.
And that leads to more useful development plans too, right?
Precisely. You can tailor those plans to each person based on their own data.
It's like creating a custom roadmap for each employee's career.
Yeah, I like that, a personalized roadmap.
And then we've got this idea of productive failure.
Oh, right.
That business casual video talks about that.
Okay.
It's all about encouraging people to experiment
Yeah.
and learning from when they make mistakes.
Interesting.
It's kind of like saying it's okay to mess up as long as you learn from it.
I like that.
What's cool is that data can actually help us understand that productive failure.
Oh, really?
Imagine tracking the results of every new idea.
Oh.
You might find that the teams that fail more often actually end up having more success in the long run.
Because they're learning more.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
So instead of just trying to avoid making mistakes,
Right.
we can actually use data to figure out which mistakes lead to breakthroughs.
That's a whole new way of thinking about performance.
For sure.
So are there any companies actually doing this?
Oh, yeah. The PDF actually goes into a lot of detail about the challenges that companies are facing when they try to, keep track of employee performance.
Mm-hmm.
How do you set clear goals?
Right.
And make sure that everyone agrees on what success looks like?
Yeah, that's tricky.
Tough, right?
Definitely. Especially when you're dealing with different teams and different roles.
Exactly.
And then how do you even measure some things?
Like what?
Like, how do you quantify someone's collaboration skills or how good they are at problem solving?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And then you have to make sure that whatever you're measuring is actually helping the company achieve its goals.
So it's a lot for companies to figure out.
It is, but the PDF argues that this is a huge opportunity for HR departments.
Really?
Yeah, they could become the leaders in what they call people analytics.
So HR goes from being the paperwork people to being like the data gurus of the company.
Exactly. They can use data to make decisions that are good for the company and the employees.
That's awesome.
It is, but we need to be clear on what performance actually means, right? The PDF actually has a really good definition of performance analytics.
Oh.
It's about looking at everything, like hiring, training, how someone is doing in their role, and how to help them grow.
So it's not just numbers.
No, it's about understanding the whole picture of someone's experience at the company.
Okay, got it.
But why go through all this effort?
Right. What's in it for the company?
Yeah. Well, the PDF lists 5 main benefits.
5.
Yeah, better alignment, more empowerment, increased awareness, greater agility,
Okay, I'm following.
and, wait for it, innovation.
Innovation. That's like the holy grail for companies, right?
Exactly, and a performance-driven culture can help make that happen.
I'm intrigued. Let's break those down a bit.
Sure. So first, alignment.
Right.
It's about making sure everyone in the company, from the top to the bottom, understands the big picture.
And how their work fits into that.
Exactly. Performance analytics can track everyone's progress and make sure everyone's on the same page.
So it's like a roadmap with data as your GPS.
I like that analogy.
And then we've got empowerment.
Right. When employees can see how their work matters,
Yeah.
they feel more responsible for their own performance.
Yeah. It's motivating to know that you're making a difference.
Absolutely. And then awareness,
Mm-hmm.
performance analytics helps create a culture of open communication.
Okay.
It provides a structure for giving feedback and doing performance reviews.
More transparent.
Exactly. So it's not just about the numbers, it's about helping people grow.
Makes sense.
Then we have agility.
Agility. Okay.
It's about being able to adapt quickly.
In a world that's constantly changing.
Right. Companies can use data to see what's happening and change their strategies as needed.
It's like having a crystal ball to see the future.
Exactly.
And finally, innovation.
This is the exciting part.
I know, right?
When a company encourages experimentation and learning from mistakes,
Uh-huh.
it creates an environment where people feel safe to take risks.
And that leads to breakthroughs.
Exactly, and performance analytics can help track those experiments and see which failures actually lead to great ideas.
So it's like giving employees permission to play and experiment.
And even fail, as long as they learn along the way.
That's pretty cool.
It is. It changes how we think about failure.
Definitely. Makes me think about all the times I've learned from messing up
Me too.
and how data can help us see those failures in a whole new way.
It's a powerful tool.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to pause for now.
Okay.
We'll be back up in part 2.
Sounds good to me. So we were talking about how performance analytics can really change the way we think about assessing employees and helping them develop.
Yeah, like instead of just relying on a manager's opinion, you're actually looking at real data about what people are accomplishing.
Exactly. You combine that data with feedback, and you get a much better picture of their strengths and where they need to grow.
And that leads to better development plans, right? Like instead of just a generic plan for everyone.
Exactly. You can personalize those plans for each person.
It's like a personalized roadmap for their career.
That's a great way to put it.
But it's not just about individuals, right?
Right. The PDF talks about how performance analytics can help the whole organization.
Like with those 5 benefits we mentioned.
Yeah, alignment, empowerment, awareness, agility, and innovation.
How does the individual data tie into all of that?
Well, by tracking individual performance,
Yeah.
companies can get a better understanding of how teams are doing
Okay.
and maybe even see where things aren't working so well.
So it's not just about monitoring employees, it's about understanding how the whole system works.
Right, and when employees can see their own data and how it connects to the bigger picture,
Uh-huh.
it creates a sense of ownership.
It's like, here's the data, here's how you contribute, let's work together to make things better.
Exactly, that kind of collaboration is important.
But implementing all of this seems pretty challenging, right?
Yeah.
What kind of hurdles do companies face?
Well, one big one is getting everyone on board.
People might be a little freaked out about having their every move tracked.
Definitely, and that's why transparency is so important.
Companies need to be upfront about how the data will be used.
And what they're doing to protect everyone's privacy.
It's like saying, we're not spying on you, we're trying to build a system that helps everyone.
Exactly, that open communication is crucial.
Now, the PDF also talks about choosing the right metrics. What does that mean?
It means picking metrics that actually matter for the company's goals.
And the roles of the employees.
Right, it's about focusing on the data that really makes a difference.
Like choosing the right ingredients for a recipe.
Exactly. And just like a chef might adjust a recipe,
Yeah.
companies need to be willing to adapt their approach based on the data.
So it's an ongoing process.
Absolutely.
It's making me think about how this could work in my own job.
Yeah, it's interesting to consider.
I guess we'll have to save that for part 3.
Sounds good.
Okay, so back to this deep dive into performance analytics.
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting so far.
We've talked about a lot.
To the good stuff, the hard stuff.
But I feel like there's one big thing we haven't really gotten into yet.
What's that?
Ethics.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're talking about using data to make decisions that affect people's jobs and careers,
Or it's
right?
a sensitive topic, for sure.
It's not just numbers, it's people's lives we're dealing with.
Right, and the PDS actually talks about this.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it emphasizes how important transparency and consent are.
Makes sense. You can't just track people without them knowing.
Exactly. Employees need to know what data is being collected, how it's being used, and how their privacy is being protected.
It's about building trust, right?
Absolutely. It can't feel like Big Brother is watching you all the time.
That would create a really bad work environment.
Totally. Performance analytics should be about helping people, not controlling them,
Giving them the information and support they need to do well.
while still respecting their privacy.
Exactly. And using data responsibly to make sure things are fair for everyone.
Hmm.
So where do you think all of this is heading?
What do you mean?
Like, what's the future of performance analytics?
That's a good question.
I think we'll probably see AI and machine learning playing a much bigger role,
Yeah, automating a lot of the data analysis stuff,
which would free up HR to focus on the human aspects of things.
like mentoring and coaching.
It's like combining data with human interaction.
Yeah, that's the ideal scenario.
So one last thought for our listeners.
Okay, shoot.
Imagine you had access to all the data about your own performance at work.
All of it.
What would you want to track?
Interesting.
What insights would you be looking for?
Yeah, I like that.
And how could you use that data to get better at your job?
Really makes you think.
It's a powerful tool, performance analytics.
Definitely.
It can help us understand ourselves and reach our full potential.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
I agree. We covered a lot of ground.
Learned a lot.
As always, if you have any ideas for future deep dives, let us know.
We love exploring new topics.
Thanks for listening, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.